All right, Shalom. This is Kanak Sa'an by Yasha'Allah from the GMS Lions in Camp. First and foremost, I'd like to say Kal Halayim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakak Kodash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutation to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. This is Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. It says, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Yahweh Shai Hamashiach." All right, and the purpose of me bringing out that scripture is to go into the whole going into the Diadochi and the birth of Hellenism, and so understanding why Paul was saying neither Jew nor Greek. What is that in reference to? It's not talking about the Grecians as a nation of people. It's talking about the Hellenized Israelites that were going according to Greek customs. All right. So the word Greek right there is no Slakia. All right, it says Hellen. All right, or inhabitant of Helleus by extension of a Greek-speaking person. It said right there. It says especially a non-Jew, but that's false. Because why would any other nation be able to be a Hellen but not a Jew? That's But so going into Hellenization and the birth of Hellenization, you got to understand what was going on in that time. Um, so go all the way back to Alexander the Great, as a matter of fact. All right, so you got to go back to the Diadochi, and which is the birth of Hellenism. All right, starting with Alexander the Great, and the word Diadochi means successor. So his successors after him pushed the whole Greek mythology upon the people and forced the Jews, the Israelites, to conform to the Hellenistic ways or the Greek customs. All right, worshiping their gods. All right, turning away from the laws of our fathers and turning into wickedness. All right, it says the Diadochi fought over a carved up Alexander's empire into several kingdoms after his death, a legacy which reigned on and continued the influence of the ancient Greek culture abroad over 300 years. The map depicts the kingdom of the Diadochi at 301 BCE after the Battle of Ipsus. The the five kingdoms of the Diadochi were Kingdom of Ptolemy, Kingdom of Cassander, Kingdom of Lysimachus, Kingdom of Seleucid, all right, Epirus, Carthage, Roman Republic, and Greek states. All right, so this all started right around 323 BC, when Alexander the Great died. All right, all right, all right. It says the Diadochi, plural of Latin from Greek, meaning successors. All right, were the rival generals, families, and friends of Alexander the Great who fought for control over his empire after his death in 323 BCE. The wars of the Diadochi marked the beginning of the Hellenistic period, all right, from the Mediterranean to the Indus River. All right, so they had it spread all the way, it was already in Egypt, all the way to Syria and in Israel, right? So go to the Hellenistic time period. It says the Hellenistic period covers the period of Mediterranean history between the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC and the emergence of the Roman Empire as a signified by the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. It says in the subsequent conquest of Ptolemaic Egypt the following year, the ancient Greeks word Hellas is the original word for Greece, from which the word Hellenistic was derived. All right. So basically, this is going according to Greek cultural influence. All right. It says at this time Greek cultural influence and power was at its peak in Europe, North Africa, Western Asia, experiencing prosperity and progress in the arts, exploration, literature, theater, archi- architecture, music, mathematics, philosophy, and philosophy was the main thing, and science. Is often considered a period of transition, sometimes even of decadence, degeneration, compared to the Enlightenment of the Greek classical era. The Hellenistic period saw the rise of comedy, Alexandrian poetry, the Septuagint, and philosophies of Stoicism and Epicureanism. Greek science was advanced by the works of mathematician Euclid and the polymath Archimedes. All right, the religious sphere. This is the point. Expanded and to include new gods such as Greco-Egyptian, uh, Serapis. All right, and that's who y'all worship. That's where they get the Christ entity from, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on one second. Let me. Yeah, that's where they get the Christ. The whole Christ thing from. Of course, it's Cesare Borgia, but this is what it goes back to. All right, Serapis. All right. Okay. So that's the influence that it had. It had religious influence, bringing in new gods. All right. Eastern deities such as Attis, Cybele, and synchronism between Hellenistic cultures and Buddhism and Bactria and Northwest India. So these are all the influences and gods that were being brought about in the birth of Hellenism. So just like how they did it again, and that's just their nature. They did it again with the Renaissance. The Renaissance was kind of like the same thing. Cause remember, they rose up during the Diadochi and the Triumvirate, right? Then the Roman Empire, then they fell, right? And then they came back after the Byzantine Empire. They came back, and then the like so the Renaissance period is kind of similar to the Diadochi period, and that's what they do. They come in and they change everybody's form of way of thinking. That's how America does also. All right. So that's the Hellenistic time period, and it started in 323 BC after the death of Alexander. All right, when you had three wars of the Diadochi. Okay, so now, when we go to First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead first over Greece." All right, all right, and this was the Darius that ruled from 380 to, well, no, he was born in 380, but I think he ruled from 336 to 330 BC. All right, so he was the one that fell to Alexander the Great in 334 BC. Well, 334, Alexander began to his invasion of the Persian Empire, and he won a few battles. But in 330 BC is when I think he took down the capital. All right, So that was Darius the third right there. All right. It said, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth. All right. And took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he had exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host. All right, because he was conquering all these lands, so he was gathering up a bunch of troops. All right, and he was sort of spreading the Hellenistic ways around this time, forcing his soldiers to mate um with the native women of the lands that they took over, and to spread their ideas and their philosophies. But when the birth of the Diadochi came, that's when Hellenism got really pushed, when through the wars of the Diadochi. All right, all right. It says and in verse 4 it said, he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries. Shlaki, let me start at 3. All right, it says, and he went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. So that's the pride just that Esau has. And really these other nations, because if you look at all these other nations, like Nebuchadnezzar did the same thing. They all lifted up in pride once the Most High gave them the kingdom. But the scripture says the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he giveth to whomever he pleases. All right? All right, it says, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. All right? And he fell sick and died in 323 BC. All right? Wherefore he calls his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. All right, the ones that he parted out to, all right, while he was alive, I think were Lasamicus, Cassander, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Antigenes. All right, and it says verse 9. It says, and after his death, they put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them, and many years, and and evils multiplied in the earth. All right, those evils that multiplied in the earth was their philosophies, and also those wars of the Diadochi. All right, just trying to jock for position and being the successors of Alexander the Great. All right. All right. It says it, and it said, and there were. It says, and there came out of them a wicked brute, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes. All right. The king who had been in hostage at Rome and reigned in the 130th and 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. All right, if I'm not mistaken, I think that happened in like 168 BC. All right, is when he invaded Egypt. All right, it says, and in those days, verse 11, it says, and in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have much sorrows. All right, so this making a covenant with the heathen, is when they started turning away from the laws of the Father, turning away from the laws of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, unto the customs of the Grecians. All right, but the Most High told us not to make covenants with the heathen. All right. As a matter of fact, let me get Exodus chapter 23, verse 32. It says, thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. And that's what Israel did. And that's what pissed the Most High off, man. All right? That's what made him angry. And that's what made him, turn his wrath against us. All right? Slakia. Slakia means 1 and 11. It says, verse 12, verse Maccabees 1 and 12, it says, so this device pleased them well, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. So basically, damn, who was that? Elder Harwan had did a lesson on it. Oh, I wonder, was it Jason? I'm not sure, but this is when he was like he went to the and Antiochus was like, hey, since we're going according to your ways, we should make the rest of Israel go according to the same thing. All right, and so this is what led up to the Maccabean revolt. All right, all right. This is Second Maccabees chapter 6 verse 1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of Yahweh, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus. And that's what they're doing today. Like the temple today is the minds of the children of Israel. And what image do they have in the minds of the children of Israel today? The image of Cesare Borgia. All right. It says, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus, and that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. So you had people around that time that would sneak into the wilderness and try to celebrate the Sabbath and honor the Sabbath, and they would come in and fight against the Israelites, while we're during the Sabbath, because they knew we weren't going to fight back. And that's when Judas was like, hey, check this out. We're going to have to start fighting back even if it's on the Sabbath day. You know, it says, verse 4, it says, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling up by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with the women within the circuits of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. All right, so they were dealing with harlots, popping harlots all in the temple, man. It says, the altar also was defiled with profane things that the law forbidded. So they were burning swine's flesh on the altar, man. It says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days, okay, or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And that was the point that I was getting at. So they weren't able to call themselves Jews. It wasn't lawful for them to call themselves Jews. So they were calling themselves Greeks, but they were really Hellenists. All right, Israelites that were going to Greek customs. All right, and so that was really straight to the point. I hope it was edifying and it served its purpose and it was able to help anybody if anybody needed help. If I slipped up in any way, man, shoot, about any dates or anything, put it in the comment board. You know what I'm saying, or anything like that. But with that being said, I'd like to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakak Radash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.